giant boundary.
Metal frame,
So I just want to get right.
My son-in-law has those. He's one that ran over it, so he should.
I love when we were going. Boundaries. I look the same.
I didn't know that.
Sir, that's the other one I see.
I just see him.
Can you move up to which one? So far. I think I'm ready. If not, it's going to happen anyway, right?
Yep. Ready or not.
As I used to think.
Yes, sir. We're ready.
7 o'clock would arrive on mission. Game time.
Yep.
That's like a new name.
Heavy stop.
Well, this meeting to order. Thank you. Commissioner Algar, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
A reminder to have your mics on, please. Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Chairman Russell,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Algar,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Okay.
Thank you. We do have a proposed agenda. Michigan State had a big day in Grayling yesterday. We'd like to move the item number 6 to number 1. And then we'd like to move MMRMA 2025 renewal, which is 9A now, to number 2. Any other additions or deletions? Or could I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Mr. Lewis.
Okay, administrator update. The Leelanau Tower. It appears that what I know you've received emails or forwarded emails from me from last week. But what I thought was what we believed was going to be a public hearing this night doesn't sound like there's going to be one. One, they haven't even posted it or advertised it. So at this point, I've only seen over the week or yesterday morning, we received a outline from the township planner of additional things they'd like to see clarified, because most of I think stuff is in there, but he hasn't completed his review. I'm not going to bring my consultants up into here until we have a complete picture. Later on, I still want to take the action later on the agenda for later on, but I'm not going to bring them into the picture until I know the complete items of what they need to have responded from us. I think that's only right, and especially to be there in front of the public hearing so that we can respond to that. So that's kind of where we are. It's, you know, it's proceeding. It's proceeding like a lot of stuff that happens in planning. None of this happens in a rush. It's usually for a reason, and that's okay. I'm not complaining. I've had to live on the other side of it for many years, so I'd rather do that. I just don't want to spend county money on something that we're not ready to have those folks in the room with. So I will, if we spend the money on me, but I will be in the room to explain and listen and say, we're ready. We'll be ready once your review's done. We'll be ready to, we'll send you a response before the public hearing so everybody has those, and that way we can do that. Point broadband. I think it was cabinet 13 got hooked up to power last week. So hopefully we'll be seeing a notice that is done. So 2 of The last item that needs to be done is cabinet 14, which is the very tip of the Leelanau Peninsula, which is also has the most of the sensitive ground in, I sent you a email that we got from the Eagle yesterday of what they're looking at so they can complete their permits, so it is on track. The sad news is that may be the one cabinet that won't be 100% completed by the end of the year. They figured they got 80% of it done. I know that Chris is working with them to see if they could turn on what they've got done and finish the rest of the spring. And the weather out here kind of gets in the way. I mean, I don't know why it has to snow on top of our project, but it does. But so I just wanted to give you an update. We may have Chris and the president of Point Broadband on our agenda for next Tuesday night, so they can give you an update also. Tri-County District Court, I know this started a year ago with you guys that Antrim County wanted to get out of the agreement between the Tri-County District Court system. They came in somewhere in the 2000s. Of course, Leelanau County and Grand Traverse County have a joint district court since 1965. We're somewhat in a disagreement with Antrim County. We don't totally support their reasoning for why they want to get out, but we're really following what Grand Traverse County would like to do, because if they are allowed to get out of the agreement, our cost share is about $20,000. That's what ours will go up to. Grand Traverse County will have a very healthy, about like 175,000 or somewhere in that ballpark. So we're kind of just saying, Grand Traverse County, if you're okay with it, we will live with it, because they got the lion's share. So that's kind of where we are on those three items. I have Tracy here with C&M Insurance. They are the consultants we use to monitor our health insurance plan. She has a handout for you, but Lou, I forgot his last name, Walters, will be here next Monday night on the agenda to explain where we are and what we're taking place. There was an employee meeting last week to go over this. So if you don't mind giving Tracy about 5 minutes to give you a handout so you can be prepared to look at it, and then Lou will go through it more in the next week.
Thank you kindly. Again, my name is Tracy. I work with C&M Insurance.
Thank you.
I've been doing benefits for almost 30 years. I started when I was 5. And he wanted you guys to have these numbers before the meeting next week. Even though they are, the numbers are good for 2024, for 2023. He wanted to call attention.
Me talking to these folks. Yes.
Thank you. He wanted to call attention to the part that I went ahead and highlighted. Would you like me behind you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That he highlighted, showing that increase in the hard costs. He'll go into more detail, and it's directly tied to the number at the bottom left corner for prescription costs. So you'll see that 1 year over the next was a $300,000 increase in the use of prescription drugs. Something that is fundamental to what C&M does is the education portion of letting the employees know how best to use their insurance so that they have control of the costs. Some things that are going to be looked at for next year, if things don't change, is possibly looking at changing the prescription drug card, the coverage. So as I said, he'll go into more detail, and I'm here, of course, if you have any questions for me.
He's coming Tuesday night to talk to
Yes.
us
Yes.
about this? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been kind of kicking to the back burner a copay for our employees, and he said, we're gonna get there.
Right.
And so this change is with the prescription card, is that potentially a copay for prescriptions at least, or?
Yes, what it is you have there is a copay correct
That's
right
small,
now.
Right.
Right, it's
Fine.
10, and it's a 2-tier copay. So it's $10 for generics, a $40 copay on brand names. Moving it to a 5-tier card, which is kind of the industry standard now, is what's under consideration. That would be 5 tiers would be a preferred generic, non-preferred generic, preferred brand, non-preferred brand, and specialty drugs. And what you'll notice I've included in the packet on the last page is the list of the prescriptions that were most used with regard to cost. And you'll notice many of them are specialty drugs. Those are the drugs that typically you're seeing the commercials for on TV. And that just, it's one of those things, again, kind of goes back to that education component. And I know a lot of the employee meetings are not mandatory, but that might be a consideration too, is making it so that people really show up and understand what their benefits are.
I know that we had a good we had a great turnout, I think last week for the 4 meetings. We'll be glad we'll make sure next week that you also have the PowerPoint that I put together, at least to go through one of the meetings, but they were shown at all the meetings. And the option of the 5-tier drug plan was shared with the employees. And I think there's most a part of it. They said, well, this may be where we have to go. So, but I think Lou will get to all of that with you guys next week.
Next
So.
week. Okay.
Are staff not choosing the generic as often as they might to save some money?
I think sometimes it's a matter of advertising, and when people see that there is an option that could create more convenience for them, they might just go there instead of taking, let's say, a pill every week. They might decide a monthly injection is better, and the cost difference could be substantial, and that could be part of it.
So anyway, that's what was shared with all the employees groups that met. Also, one of the meetings I know was, especially where I made the presentation, was recorded, so it's out there for all employees that couldn't be there to look at. So anyway, we'll get more next month.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
At this time, we have the first public comment opportunity. If there's something on the agenda today that you'd like to speak to, please raise your hand and we'd recognize you, and you have 3 minutes to talk to us. Any public comment this morning? Thank you for being here. Any commissioner comment? Then we're down to Jennifer and Michigan State University. Thank you, Jennifer. A nice event in Grayling yesterday.
Thank you for coming. So yesterday, for those of you that don't know, we did our new commissioner school. So we did the site that was, sorry.
Page 76 of your packet.
Sorry. So we did new commissioner school. It was one of several sites that we did throughout the state, and many thanks to the new commissioners from Leelanau County that came. You had a nice, strong representation, both of commissioners and staff. So thank you to the financial staff that attended as well. And I hope they found that time to be useful for networking. So before you today is our annual agreement for MSU Extension Services with the budget process that's recently completed. This is an agreement that's been signed by administration over the last few years since I've been hired. And I know Richard and I met and we talked about that he had wanted to bring it in front of the board. And so here we are today with our annual agreement that's been in place for all the years that I've been doing my work with an extension. And we're hoping that you will approve this agreement. So thanks.
It's a standard agreement.
Yeah.
I just have a struggle signing an agreement at $141,000, even though you already budgeted and all that stuff. It's all been approved by you, through your budget. So you need to, I feel like the commission has to put this agreement. It's not an administrative function, in my opinion. The next administrator might think that.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the Michigan State University agreement for extension services for Leelanau County for the period of January 1, 2025 to December 31, 2025 in the amount of $141,730 with payments from Fund 101.615.257.801.000. Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You had a question.
I just was wondering where the 4-H is right now.
So we're currently reposted it. We had a search that did not lead to a candidate. And so what we're finding is the challenge of bringing in a new candidate right now is like the cost of housing. During new commissioner school, they talked about both Leelanau County and Grand Traverse County have the highest rates of housing costs. So we have second round interviews in a week from now, but we had a very favorable first round candidate that we reviewed. So I'm really hopeful. It just takes one. So I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed because this is a really important 4-H position in my district. It's probably one of the strongest ones we have. So given that, I really want to make sure we have the best candidate for the residents. So I'm being extra selective, but we have a very good candidate that we're moving forward to in-person interviews in a week and a half. So what's not helping is my Grand Traverse one is vacant right now, so we're kind of competing for the same candidate pool, but we have just resolved that one, so I'm hopeful that this other new candidate will be a good one, so thank you.
Moving your Traverse City offices. Could you
Yeah.
give us an update on that?
Sure. So thanks, Ty. So he was listening to me talk with the Grand Traverse Commissioner. So with the city fire getting an approved millage, they are expanding back into 520 West Front, and Grand Traverse County, as part of our agreement, like with you, provides us office space. So our 520 West Front location, we will be needing to vacate that by the end of 2026. And that's where I'm housed, and that's where many staff that provide services in Leland are housed as well. And so we will be relocating to sites unknown. I've been in that office now for 24 years. I moved into that space. I'm the only employee left that moved into that space. So you know you're old when you remember those things. But we moved into that when I was on maternity leave for my oldest daughter. And so we've been there temporarily, really for 24 years is what we were told. So I guess hopefully the county's always been good to us like you all are here. And so I know that they'll find us some good space, but more to come, and we'll just be nimble and flexible. So.
And Jen, we did have a vote. You caught that. Was it at
Yeah.
6-0?
Yes.
Okay.
And while I'm in front of the board, just one more thing, Ty. I wanted to just share last month that the new president of the university, I don't know if you saw, but he was part of the Spartan bus tour where he brought up 50 faculty members from Michigan State University, and they spent time in Leelanau County at the research station. And I wanted to tell you that I heard through the grapevine that was his favorite stop of the bus tour. And of course, you know, I'm biased with the research station and all the wonderful things that Nikki does there, but the faculty really enjoyed their time there. So I wanted to let you know that was a nice little feature, having him come to Leelanau. So.
Just one complaint about that visit. There was too much green and not enough blue.
Oh, I don't know about that. Never enough green.
Oh, no, come on.
We now are down to MMRA, and that's 118 in your board. Richard?
Yes. Here's our representative.
Hello, everybody.
I'll let him introduce you.
That works. My name is Matt Colson. I'm here on behalf of the MMRMA, the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. We're your risk management partner, and also carry your property and liability insurance. So that's your general liability, law enforcement liability, public officials liability, and then all the property, the dams, towers, et cetera. So in your pack, you should have the coverage proposal, I believe. But before I get started on that, and again, I won't go through every nook and cranny of it. I've met with Richard and Lauren and Kathy a couple weeks ago to run through it, just to make sure there was no questions or concerns before coming before you all. But first of all, I just want to thank your continued partnership. You guys have been a member of MMRMA since 1985, and we were formed in the early 1980s. So you were one of the OGs, I guess, as the kids say these days. So again, appreciate your partnership. Hopefully, it's been mutually beneficial throughout all those years. It obviously has if you stuck around, and we've done hopefully good work for you guys with you guys. And just a reminder that the MMRMA, we're what's called a risk pool. So we're member owned, member driven. We're not a commercial insurance company. So one of the big key points that our membership, I believe, is so happy is when we have excess assets at the end of the year, we give those excess assets back to our members in the form of cash grants. So this year, the net asset distribution coming back to Leelanau County is $158,713. And that is a large percentage of what your contribution, is coming up and was this year. So historically, MMRMA has given back over $1.8 million in the form of net asset distribution and $112,000 in what we call RAP or CAP grants, risk avoidance program, or certification and accreditation programs. So those are things that are, meant to reduce liability and property losses. That's tasers, that's the body worn cameras, that's a lot of law enforcement focus, but anything property as well. So that program continues to thrive and be utilized by members, including you all. This past year for there was a citizen planner project and a restraint chair in jail. So again, please feel free to continue to utilize those. There's continues to be funds in that. But anyways, questions before I jump into the proposal real quick?
Let me find it.
Sure.
You had, well, it was one of our parks. No, let's see here. Okay, well, it might be, in our Miles Kimberly Park, there was a maintenance garage at building value of 88,000, and that's logical to me.
Okay.
But then you'd have the restrooms at 67,000. So two questions really. Number one, that seemed a little high because it's pit toilets. And they're going to be going away.
Okay.
So that just seems kind of high to me.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question, concern. So for building valuation specifically, we work with a vendor that has been a trusted partner of ours. It's called CBiz Valuation Group. And they every 4 to 5 years will come out and meet with whoever, maintenance folks, whoever is the best representative to show them around all the county buildings. And they use, their formulas, slope of buildings. Is it a frame building? Is it masonry, non-combustible? What part of the state are we in? Is it labor really expensive or materials really expensive? And they, admittedly, they come up with those figures.
Okay.
If there's a disagreement, that's completely fine. We can look at that and we have the option to lower it if you think that's too high. And we can certainly look at doing that.
That's one of the Miles Kimberly. The other one is the same thing at the Old Settlers Park.
Yeah.
And we've got there's another pit toilet there, and it's 56,000, and that also should be going away. And I believe complete demolishing, right? We're not just going
That's
to
our
build
game
them.
plan, is to take, they are pit toilets, and we're talking about taking them out. We haven't approved all that yet, but that's our game plan. So they may be coming off the list, but we can get that rectified.
Yeah, we just need to follow up on it when that
And remember,
happens.
that whole plan just came together after all this was
Right.
completed, so that may be an adjustment we'll have to make.
Yep, we can always endorse midterm for sure.
There'd be some value, maybe especially to the Miles Kimberly, it's a little bit bigger if they were filled and there's a cement floor and there's a storage, but I don't really know. I don't think that's where
The
it
building's
comes.
probably not that much, and the pit is just one pit, it's just, the building has 2 separate stalls.
Any other questions?
Thank you for that.
Clarification there, yeah.
Never mind.
I do have a question. So what is the change in, from the previous year?
Yeah, so it's up, just overall bottom line, the cost is up 3.78%. And it is dollar wise.
Percentage is sufficient.
Okay, yep.
Any other questions? I have a motion.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority coverage proposal for the Leelanau County for the period of January 1, 2025, to January 1, 2026, in the amount of $258,480, and approve the stop loss program participation agreement as outlined in the proposal with payments from Fund 590.
690.
690, sorry.
Support.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0.
I
Thank you.
have one thing to say. A Christmas tree just arrived in our lobby. And I think everybody should know,
Great. Thank you for your time.
We're now down back to page 2 and the sheriff.
Morning.
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 So we have a bit of a hiring dilemma again. We're still losing employees to other agencies. They're paying more. And we could lose up to 6 or 7 next year, calendar year, between retirements and other pay wages that are being sent out. Like, for instance, state police just got a 20% 3 and 3 in a 3-year contract. And they were already at 40.27 an hour and they went up. So we're kind of bleeding for employees. We have approval to put one person through the NMC Academy for the MCOLS pre-service program, which is reimbursed at a rate of 20,000. It was reimbursed like 24,000 last year. They lowered it to 20. We're going to ask now to increase that for a second position. We're going to run out of people real quick. And the academy starts toward the end of January at NMC, which is minimal cost. It's local. We're not shipping them way out of the area, but they will not be really operational until August. And then at that time, there's a 14-week FTO program. So we're kind of bleeding, and we are going to ask to move that from the 1 to 2 positions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think you all have received the packet and saw the actual fund amounts and so forth. I know, like, the state police are at 40.27 an hour, and DNR just got pay equity. And there's 6 entities in the Leelanau County, starting FBI coming down to us. We're last on pay. So we're bleeding. We lost some people to Consumers Power, to state police. So we lost a real good officer to Alaska Highway Patrol. So I think we're kind of in a bit of a dilemma where we have to ask to increase that from 1 position academy to 2.
Could I have a motion and we'll have discussion? Commissioner Hooker?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the Sheriff's Office request to send a second employee recruit and enter into Public Safety Academy Assistance Program / grant process with the Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement. I think just for that.
Officer standards.
Standards and Northwestern Michigan College for the Police Academy. Go ahead. That starts on January 27th, 2025, contingent on there being another vacancy within the law enforcement division prior to December 31st, 2024.
Support.
Discussion.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who I supported.
It's called teamwork, yeah.
Commissioner Lautner?
So this is contingent, that was the first thing I looked for, so obviously if the person does leave us, if
Right.
not, you won't send someone through. So I guess my question to you is, what do you know, or what do you think about this new sheriff? There was a woman sheriff elected, is it in Oakland County? And the first of the year, she is taking all their weapons away. So the officers down there will have apparently tasers, but no handguns.
Where did you hear that? I know Mike Bouchard, the sheriff. He's on the SWAT
Maybe it
team.
wasn't Oakland, because it's not Bouchard. It's not Bouchard's county. It's a woman that just got elected to one of those counties down there. But the police officers in Grand Traverse County are talking about it. And so their thought is, there's going to be an influx of officers looking to come to Leelanau County because they absolutely will not be an officer down there.
That is correct, but they can't afford to live here. I know what you're saying, and I'm 100% behind those men and women who serve down there. You obviously, I can't even fathom what they're saying. They're gonna have weapons, but in the same sense, we're bleeding because of higher pay at other agencies. And we're just not seeing the apps. They're just not coming in and
I'm just wondering if that's going to change, Mike. So look into it and see what, I mean, if you were to look into this and this, if they're already looking to jump ship down there, there may be some really good officers that want to remain an officer, but I will not down there. And this is what I understand.
and that's, and I'm always looking for experienced people. If you can get anybody who's kind, compassionate public, smart, physically fit, mentally fits in our program. We have pretty high standards, always looking for good candidates. We used to have a pool of what, maybe 10 to 20 people that wanted to come here and transfer. And now people are leaving here to go to higher pay. So I really doubt, unless they own property here, I really doubt that they're gonna be able to live here. You know, those of us who had homes before all this last 10 years and all this spike in property values, we're okay, but these new people, they're here temporarily, they're out of here. So,
And as I think we can look into that too. The problem will be is, I mean, you go to any of the bulletin boards where jobs are posted, there's 143 postings for 143 agencies looking for employees. Most, whatever county this would be, I'm sure that to come to Leelanau, it's a $20 an hour pay cut. They can find jobs. The contingent deputy that we spoke about with this motion here, he will start, if he gets the job and goes to where he thinks he's gonna go, starting pay there is $41 an hour. We're 24.
Yeah, and of course, the other case, they're paying for their health care, so you're willing to do that too, right? So we could have, so we could go to a premium here. We could raise salaries and go to a premium, and it's gonna look good to them. So we can have 400 or 500. Right now, it's zero for healthcare, correct? Zero.
well, it's the deputies
And they don't wanna hear it.
And the
correct?
deputies keep
They
saying-
want it both.
saying to me, we can't afford a house payment and a car payment with our health insurance. And I get that, trying to be.
We digress here.
Yes.
But good points.
Well, it needs to be brought up, it needs to be done.
Any other discussion about the motion? Commissioner Burke?
This is just kind of a drop in the bucket. It's really not gonna help anything. I mean, you're gonna have one person, but he's gonna be on the road by himself in August.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember the days of, you know, one patrol car, one officer in it, and waking people up to come and help us out. Maybe that's where you're going. If you do get some of those fine officers from downstate, can you start them off at top pay?
I have approached union a couple times that said, we're gonna have to do something, we're bleeding. And the general view of the union is that, well, no, you have to earn this like we did. Nobody did that for us, but something's gotta change because you can't get.
That's negotiations, chief.
I understand. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're not asking for anything frivolous. We're just trying to fill our boots.
So we have a motion on the table. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last thing I'd like to say to this board, you have been extremely supportive of us, and we, all of us, I speak for all of us, really appreciate what you've done for the county and for us. So I know this is your last meeting for some of you, and can't thank you enough for what you've done. Thank you.
I think it might have been washed tonight.
Washington.
Okay, could,
Not yet. No, it's not your last meeting.
Wait a minute, I like what this is. This is.
No, this is not the last
I think I tried more on my.
Follow my schedule, because of meetings, not yours.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See now what you've done for me?
it's only 10 o'clock and the chair is losing all control over this meeting. We're, Kathy, we're here for finance and we start with the early childhood generous, and Richard, you're gonna introduce it?
I can do it very quickly.
Yeah.
You've already approved their scope of work for the year. You already approved their budgets for the year. I mean, the millers to cover all this, so this is done. What we have not done is enter into an official contract with the health department to provide the services. In your contract, every year, they have to come back to you during the budget process to approve the scope of work as well as approve the millage. It is being requested that you enter into a 6-year contract, which is also happens to coincide with how long the millage will be in place. So this is the final step to move this forward. So nothing we need to do. So, and staff agrees with that, so.
Mr. Rush?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement for early childhood health services for Leelanau County by the Leelanau District Health Department for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2030, with funds from Fund 280. Support.
Discussion. Mr. Rexroth?
So I'll just, there's always this worry about finding the next, my reading of this, that it can be canceled with 90 days notice from either party without cause or penalty. So just so we all understand what we're doing here. We are approving a 6-year contract, but we do give the next board full authority to do what they want to do with this contract. So my understanding is correct.
That's correct. I mean, most of the contracts, all the contracts you have should have out clauses for both sides at any time, so. To the best of the ability. So.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but even that being said, I think this is too lengthy of a contract. I think,
6 years.
yeah, I think 3 years maximum is what I would prefer. It doesn't allow any time for the revisiting of it, which is so important.
Any other
Tops.
discussion? Have a motion on the floor.
Okay, you do get to revisit it once a year.
I understand that, but the questions of putting it back, possibly putting it up for bid or that sort of thing is not going to happen.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved. 5-1. Thank you. We now, Kathy, have year-end adjustments.
Yes, this motion comes before you in December of every year to give me the authority to make year-end adjustments if necessary to avoid year-end deficits in various departments within the general fund to the limit of the contingency.
So you bring those to us at the end of the year then?
We'll have a year-end meeting where you will approve. You'll have a shot at it. You're also going to have some budget amendments next week as well. But this is if at the 13th hour, I'm here on New Year's Eve and realize something's not quite right. It gives me the authority to fix it.
We'll have our like December 28th or something.
Yeah, I don't think you've set that meeting yet.
I haven't seen
Have
it
they?
yet.
No, okay.
Although the sheriff said this is our last meeting.
Nope, it's not.
Oh,
Can I have a motion?
I would move to recommend the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve and authorize the finance director to make any year-end adjustments and transfers deemed necessary to avoid year-end deficits in the various department budgets within the general fund. Transfer, really?
You're not.
Don't you, sorry, your job. No transfer adjustments that go beyond funds and contingency. All transfers adjustments require the signature of the finance director.
Now,
Support.
Any discussion?
she does it anyway. She
All
does a
those in
good
support
job.
of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0.
She doesn't want to do your job.
Thank you. We have a solutions for you contract extension. You speaking to that, Kathy?
I sure can, and I'm sorry we don't have that draft copy. I'll email that to you this afternoon. This is the nuts and bolts of it. It came in late yesterday and I was at Commissioner School, so. The proposed amendment and extension for the Solutions for You contract will help us in with incorporating the cost of the build out downstairs. This year, the health department moved in March. We have a build out or cost sharing agreement with the Department of, Leelanau Health Department that we clean it. And so we took that responsibility, and Solutions for You, that was outside their scope of their contract, and they invoiced us each month. This is a proposal by the owner of Solutions for You, which would embrace the square footage of the Leelanau Health Department into that contract. And it would make it a monthly contract amount without invoice for that extra space. It also, we have in our current contract 2 one-year extensions. And so that's an option to exercise. either, and she's proposing that we exercise both. That would take this contract through 2027, each year with a 3% increase.
Why don't we have a motion to move it forward and we'll look at that Kathy sends us and have this on the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions for Kathy on that note?
So are they saying that it costs them 11,000 a month to clean
Our whole campus.
the whole building?
Courthouse.
This is this building and across the street.
Okay.
They've had the contract for, I believe, 9 years with us. Their employees have to be, they have background checks done on them because they are in sensitive areas of the building. And this was a bid process to come to Solutions for You back 9 years ago, and we've renewed.
That was my other question. That's the last time that went out for competitive bids was 9 years.
I believe it was 9 years ago. That's how we got them, was through a bid process.
Commissioner Lautner?
So, we gave up all our space, all our spare space in this building to the health department last year. So we've got some of your staff now in equalization. We've got IT and planning. We've got to find room for a drain commissioner. We don't know where the drain commissioner is going yet.
Yes, we did.
You do know where's our drain?
Planning, there's a space in
So we're
the.
under- so how, we also have cost share, every budget's cost shared for this purpose.
Yeah.
How are you managing to figure out the square footage of, for all these departments that are in everybody else's department, because we don't have office space?
Well, the cost share allocation is produced off of your last audited year, which was 23. And that will be part of your 26 budget. I believe we've used the 22 cost share for the 25
We had some
proposed.
of that going on then too.
And so Mike and I are now going to be revisiting the square footage of where everybody lives. The health department moved in 24, so we won't feel the cost share effect for a while on the square footage of that. It's always trailing.
Just that.
But I think Commissioner Lautner's comments, sir, that mean that the point is you gotta drill down pretty hard, because it isn't just because the planning department has 2,000 square feet. 350 of it is belonging to someone who isn't in that department. That's really the nature of your question, correct?
That's exactly
Your
right.
allocations will account for that, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay.
Down the road. Mhm.
Thank you. And we'll see that and take action on that next week. Brownfield Authority Resolution, page 37.
Yes, I've been working with the Brownfield Authority for most of the year. The chairman and I have been going over old records and cleaning up some things, housekeeping, so to speak. And with Mike's help, we went back in time to revisit the Varley Kelly Properties buy-sell agreement, which ended up being a forfeited event. At that time, deposit earnest money was put into the brownfield, and it's been held there. And the brownfield has felt hesitant to really own it because they were unclear. Now, the Satterwhite Group sale, those proceeds did filter back to the general fund, which it was we're talking about the government center in Leland, the complex, the campus, so the old courthouse. So brownfield, we've encouraged them just to hold the money in the money market fund. They have had to lean on it upon occasion to make the Eagle payments because the TIF money was not satisfactory or was not sufficient to make the Eagle loan payments on the cleanup. But in the meantime, they don't know who they owe money to. Do they owe money to themselves from this, or do they owe it to the general fund because of that motion back in 2008? They would just like clarification. I have recommended that they hang on to it. I think it's important that the brownfield has coffers. They are paying back the $50,000 seed money to the general fund. We found that through motions back in 2008-9. And so they only owe $10,000 more to the general fund on that $50,000. So they have made whole on obligations to the general fund that are on the books. This one has never been on the books. The general fund is not expecting this. It's not been sitting as a receivable. It's not been sitting as a payable on the brownfield books. We just want clarification so that they can move forward.
Commissioner Rush?
I move to recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve that the Leelanau County Brownfield Development Authority retain the forfeited deposit earnest money in the amount of $100,000 related to the Varley Kelly property by sale agreement. Support.
Nice find.
Commissioner Lovett?
My personal belief is that this should be Leelanau County money, because first place, that property was never marketed correctly. Second place, we had the forfeitures. Third place, Varley Kelly tried to build the 2 townhouses, and I believe that's where forfeiture came in. They asked Leelanau County because they needed the money to deed them to them, and then they would sell the property and Leelanau County would get paid. The mistake was made with the deeds, and all the property was accidentally given to Varley Kelly. So Leelanau County had to then purchase back our property from Varley Kelly. Then the brownfield was the one that made that mistake. So I'd like the actual, how much money did Leelanau County actually get for a city block on the Leland River? Very little, because it was messed up and nobody would listen. Just kept hammering. So that was a $600,000 error, I do believe, made by Brownfield when they gave them all our property. Oops. So to let Brownfield keep that $100,000, it might have been the only dollar Leelanau County put in their pocket for all that property up there. We're still paying for the environmental cleanup. Sorry, Kathy.
That's, we're just asking for
It's
clarification.
wrong. It's just wrong, and it's wrong.
It seems like if we were not go with Kathy's recommendation, we need the treasurer and the chair of the brownfield to speak.
I believe Mark Walker signed those documents, so is he still chair or?
So we could move this forward.
I think I don't know if anybody's gonna try to research, but I'd like to actually know how much money, yeah, maybe just move it forward. We actually got for that property, because you know.
Commissioner Rush?
So on the minutes from 2008,
Yes,
it was motioned for the money to go back to the county's treasury, right? Is that what I'm reading? Right?
from the,
Action item 1.
correct, from the Varley Kelly property sale, which was ended up forfeiting. It was a forfeited sale.
So this is different than that.
Well, it's a question. Who keeps the forfeited deposit money? Does Brownfield keep it, or is it expected to go to the general fund?
Varley Kelly's put
It's
personal
proceeds that's
guarantees
different
up,
from the
which we
sales.
never went
Right,
after.
so it's.
Yeah.
There was
Let's
personal
move it
guarantees, and
forward and
Leelanau
let the
County
treasurer-
let it go.
I would like to move, make a motion to move this forward to the next meeting with some more clarification, because I'm just saying, I'm not comfortable with where I'm at, but I do appreciate that we gotta know what to do with it, so.
So I have a motion on the floor
Yeah.
by Ross and Al Geyer. Is someone withdrawing that motion?
Yes.
Withdrawn by the second as well?
Sure.
And do we have a second for Commissioner
Yes.
Rexroth's,
Support for Commissioner Rexroth.
And then I have Rexroth moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we need some accurate history. The other thing is that if the chair is able to come, he can tell us what the bottom line brownfield will be without those funds. Because if they are a buffer, yeah, we need more information.
They are currently using the TIF revenue to make the equal payments because the TIF revenue is sufficient. And they also are in the middle of an EPA grant, which is going through September of next year. They do have sufficient funds to it's a reimbursable, so when they have expenditures, they have funds to pay their bills and get reimbursement on their EPA grant. So it is a clarification of this money, it is sitting in the coffers of the Brownfield, and they just want clarification to make plans.
And the Eagle money will go away if it's not used for those particular purposes.
The EPA grant is terminating September of 25. And if there are no reimbursable expenditures, that money is going to, it goes away.
It was a mess. These two were selected because they were going to do affordable housing in Leland.
We do have the outstanding Eagle grant note on our books that we are making payments on for the cleanup of that property, but the TIF revenue is sufficient.
Is this discussion pertinent to moving it forward or?
No, that's
Okay.
moving forward.
I just
Okay.
move it
All those
forward.
in support of the motion to move it forward, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
For clarification on my part, we're moving it forward for further discussion, but no decision on what we're gonna do with it is ready.
Got it.
Right.
That's how I'm putting my notes. I just want to make sure I was on the same page with you.
Thank you, Kathy.
For
Sure.
a change.
And Andrew's here. And
Clean
Ron.
up.
Yep. Page 41 of the stack.
Good morning. So I've been before you before. I'm not sure. I'm sure all of you probably have met our GIS analyst, Rob Herman. He's the magic man who makes all of our beautiful maps and who manages our geographic information systems. So what we wanted to talk about today is well, we're here really to request authorization to enter into a contract with the state of Michigan's My Sail program to purchase aerial imagery to be flown in the spring of 2025. Since 1990, Leelanau County has purchased high-quality aerial imagery to support the operations of equalization, emergency services, 911, planning, building safety. This imagery that has been purchased periodically is also used by Register of Deeds, treasurer, local school districts, fire and EMS authorities. And the imagery is really the core of our geographic information system. This imagery has always been the digital imagery, and then also the Mylars that were purchased in the past have always been made available to the public, and it's widely used by local residents, citizens, local businesses. So realtors, surveyors, attorneys, engineering firms all make use of this imagery. In fact, the most highly trafficked portion of our county website is the county parcel viewer, which has as its base layer the aerial image. So this site receives an average of 306 views per day, and in the last year, I had a total of over 112,000 views. And that's mostly people going and like looking at their property where they have that aerial image as the supporting background. So the state of Michigan's authoritative imagery and LiDAR program, that's the My Sail program, assists local counties in acquiring aerial imagery. The target region for spring 2025 is Northwest Michigan. And I've spoken with the equalization directors in Manistee and Benzie counties. And so with your authorization, I'd like to partner with those counties to join that program to fly in the spring of 2025. By partnering with those counties, we basically lower the rate because they will fly more total square mileage if we partner with other counties, and then that reduces the rate per square mile. So the rate goes from something like $80 a square mile down to about $50 a square mile if we partner with these other counties. And so the savings for Leelanau County, I think in my note, I think I said a savings of $2,938, but I had some back and forth with the state, and the savings, if we partner with Manistee and Benzie, is going to be more like $3,300. But the total cost of the county comes to $25,019.52 to be exact, and that's in the buy-up agreement that is in your packet. And then I also outlined in your packet the cost of what the county spent in previous years buying imagery. But so the state is going to fly in 25 for Northwest Michigan, and they usually fly they're trying to get back to doing every 5 years. So the next opportunity to fly would be in 2030.
And was this in our proposed budget or budget we approved
Yes.
for this amount?
Yes,
Right.
in mapping, yes, in mapping. Okay.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners authorize entry into an agreement with the state of Michigan statewide authoritative imagery and LiDAR program, MySail, to collect aerial imagery in the spring of 2025.
Support.
Any discussion?
So Andrew, we still get the savings if they're flying in this area. You know how the difference can be is coming off the lake. If we're real cloudy up here, they have to come back. We
Right.
still get that same.
Yeah, so there's, if you look in the contract, there's some criteria on page, I think it's on page 5. Basically, yeah, they have to have certain conditions that in order to fly. And like, for example, when they flew in 21, there was an area that they didn't capture or they had some issues with, so they reflew it. And then we eventually got that imagery. And then Rob also has like he's gonna basically be able to look at the imagery and say like, yes, we accept this, or no, we don't.
Yeah.
In the best imagery that we seem to have gotten was from 2017. Our 2021 aerial imagery, it's good, but it had a little bit of leaf on.
The trees leafed out earlier. so-
Yeah, and I think this that was a discussion that Lori, I think also had with the board in that year that, so we hope that the hope is always that they can fly early enough that we have good snow-free conditions, but that we're not leafing out yet.
Right.
Andrew, you said the 2017 was the best quality.
Correct.
The cost was way up there too.
Yeah.
So was that a different company or what are we talking?
Yeah, Rob and I were trying to figure out exactly why the cost was so substantially different. And I think that that's what we kind of landed on, is that they went with a different vendor. And mostly it's probably because there were counties that just couldn't afford to participate because the cost was so high.
Any other questions? We have a motion on the table. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
And now we have our outgoing drain commissioner. Steve?
Morning.
Morning.
First up would be the relinquishment of a drainage district. You've got basic information, and I realized that there was one piece that you did not have. And that would be the resolution from the township. Resolve to.
They want to take it over? They're okay with taking it over?
This is a resolution saying that, yeah.
Okay.
Apologize for not having it in the packet. My oversight. So anyway, it's pretty basic. There was a small district put forth by my predecessor. Elmwood Township ended up buying it from the developer. The developer, Devereaux Trepp, did work on it, and then it went belly up, and township ended up buying it for parking for the public. The Drain Commission cannot assess public entity property for public use. That is for public use, so that reduced the ability to assess just the 3 small parcels, and it ceased to become practicable. At any rate, I had the legal team put together the paperwork. I went through mine to relinquish. Township went through theirs to relinquish. The final step for it to happen is for this board to look at it and approve the relinquishment of Brewery Creek Drain.
So Steve, I mean, this is the one drain we had for a long time.
We had 2, drainage district number 1, which is the Elmwood Township Drain 1. and then Brewery Creek. So technically, there were two that I inherited.
But this is, I read in there, it's all been, there's no liabilities with it, so we've been paid back for everything we've invested into.
There is no outstanding bill for this district at all.
Commissioner Logan,
I move to recommend the Board of Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the attached resolution and relinquish the jurisdiction and control of Little Creek Drain to the township. Support.
any other discussion?
We've come a long way in Elmwood. It's paved now. We've got a beautiful place for parking. A few years back, we had 2 feet of water in front of the subway. Okay, so it's a very sensitive area, very, very sensitive. We gotta make sure we keep everything clean. Of course, the water level right now on the bay is quite low,
Very low.
very low. I mean, it could run into a problem, so I'm kind of glad we're turning it over to Elmwood. But from speaking from being an Elmwood commissioner, we got a lot of money. So, thank you.
Yeah, the township did go ahead and get a permit with soil erosion control and Eagle this spring to completely clean out and address the drainage system there, which was a really good move. And they went ahead and did that. In essence, moving forward on what we're talking about today. So
It's very, very sensitive, very, I mean, any place in the county.
Any other discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, resolution approved, 6-0.
thank you.
Roll call.
Next week.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we now have the contract with GEI Consultants.
Pretty straightforward. It's basically the same as last year.
Question, Steve, is Tim on board with this?
Yes. Yeah, I've been working with Tim for about 2 months. We've been in meetings with Brian Sensi and GEI several times. Trying to get him up to total speed. He had to leave just a minute ago. He has a meeting, but yes.
Commissioner Rexroth?
Move to recommend approval of the contract renewal with GEI Consultants of Michigan pending legal review. Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Lauren did have the foresight to send it off to legal. And in your docs, you'll see that legal has seen it. And there's a corresponding document there. So
We'll have it in there for next week. I don't know if it's in here yet or not.
it's there.
Okay.
Well, maybe not. I had it via email. I will get the email to you, Richard. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. We'll make sure it gets included.
Okay.
Because I know it's saying here we need to put the right account numbers and all that stuff.
Got it.
No worries.
I do have to just comment, though, you made a statement that Tim Onan has been involved in this for a couple of months.
Yeah, I pitched him. Yeah, ad was in the paper that I pitched him. He came to me midsummer during a board meeting at the end of it or whatever, and he asked me, I've known him all my life, but he asked me how I felt about the possibility of him running for drain commissioner. And he wanted to know how I felt. And I told him I feel relieved. He's very competent. He'll do a great job. I know him. So that's why I pitched him.
Steve, you've done a nice job with Drain Commission, erosion, and with parks, so thank you very much.
Yes, you have.
Well, you're welcome.
Be here next Tuesday, or is this your last meeting?
No, it's not his last meeting.
It's been an honor, and you folks don't get enough credit for the work you do. It's phenomenal what you have to look at and understand. Anyway,
No, it's not his last meeting, whether he wants it to be or not.
Can you give a picture of your little corner office? Remember you started out in the little corner office way down in the end of the hall.
in Lake Leelanau, it was like a closet. No window, but it was fine. We made it work.
Made it work.
Next on the agenda is the safety net contract.
Okay. Basically, and you could go do this here, but BM, I don't know if you got the forwarded email from our vendors safety net as relates to the particular agreement. They go ahead and manage all of these contracts, but they do not make any money off of this contract. All they do is they get the service, they give it to us, and then, it costs $10,968, but then to get it, they bill us $10,968. I did get an email from Greg relating that, but I can't remember if I forwarded it to you. I had enough of them to forward over the last.
I forwarded it yesterday
did? Okay.
when I got it, so.
And so
you
make
would know.
sure it's in the packet for next week for that clarification. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Just that I'm requesting to renew our VMware licensing for a 3-year agreement. Any questions?
I have a motion. Commissioner Olgar.
I move to recommend the County Board of Commissioners approve the renewal of VMware licensing for 3 years in the amount of $10,968.96 from Safety Net, with funds to come from data processing fund 636.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0.
Thank you.
Give us an update on the website.
The vendor is still working out some issues, which is why we haven't gone live yet. There was quite a lot of meeting information from various townships that never got part of the initial data migration. So they're finishing up that this week. And then there were some technical difficulties with some of the links on the site. So that's also supposed to be finished up this week. So I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope we can actually go live next week. So.
And Richard, an update on support for that office.
I've asked, when we had our quarterly meeting with Greg, he gave us 2 resources to go to find part-time help. And I know you're gonna reach out to those 2 resources. These are students that come right out of there's a program at the high school, if I remember correctly, and there's a high program at the NMC, if I remember correctly.
Career Tech Center, I think is what he
Career
said.
Tech Center to go into. He said there's a lot of great students out there looking for part-time work to be able to help us to help Leanna to get this, to service all of our computers and everything that we do here. So she's got that resource and we'll bring it forward. And we do have a place for him also. Her also.
Where?
There's an empty desk in the planning department that's not being used.
But you're in the planning department.
Yes, he's in the planning
So
department.
we're gonna have 2 of you and Tim all in planning department.
Planning department, all the space in the planning department will be full.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Gail's here with the materials management plan.
Good morning. As you know, Leelanau County partnered with Grand Traverse County and Benzie County to create a new materials management plan. And that planning committee was formed. They held their first meeting last month. And these are their bylaws that have been recommended for approval.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the Materials Management Planning Committee, known as the Lower and Northwest 2 Regional Material Management Planning Committee bylaws as presented.
Support.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say, I was on this, so Bill Perkins is a new township, Suttons Bay Township trustee. Did you hear? We had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and he's interested in assuming my role as an elected official from Leelanau County, and I highly recommend having him join the team. He would be a great addition. His decades of service to Leelanau County, and he now qualifies to fill that spot that I was going to be able to. So I hope that happens.
Yes, they're meeting Friday, so.
Does this board appoint or because I was told yesterday when I was meeting with the Grand Traverse County Commissioners, that it was critical that we had a commissioner on that project.
Technically, the outline of who needs to be on that committee is one commissioner, and we already have Grand Traverse County being represented as a commissioner, TJ Andrews, who's an excellent candidate. The next category for an elected official was actually a township, village, or city official. So really, to follow the MMP, we really should elect a township person. So we got a variance, right?
We did, just for you to fill, yeah.
Technically, so we by hiring someone or appointing someone at the township trustee level, we're following the state mandate better.
I had the concern when we formed this, that we were kind of out of the loop on that. And that this is a big deal. And I just one commissioner, but I believe that we ought to continue to have a commissioner on that project.
I agree.
I agree, except that it sounds like that the committee wasn't formed that way, that they say one commissioner, they don't say a commissioner from each county.
We really need to follow the MMP rules, and as long as we have a viable person that can fill the role correctly, I think that's the path going forward.
It's been difficult.
You can get a waiver a second time.
Bill Perkins, on the other hand, has been in that.
It's been in recycling and waste management for decades, so.
Yeah. If that's the MMP's guidelines.
No, the state guidelines.
It's not your discussion
They
today,
do
right?
that, I believe, when individual counties have their committee and they say one county commissioner. But when we made the decision to join forces with Grand Traverse County, I think some of us at that time said, we don't want to lose total control over that process. And I'm feeling like we don't have somebody from this table on that plan. We're really just doing whatever Grand Traverse County decides to do.
But isn't Benzie part of that too?
Yes, Benzie's part of it also.
There's no commissioner from Benzie.
So point of order on this, on district motion, we're approving these bylaws, that's it, that won't preclude your discussion about who.
That's
So-
something
so
that
we
needs
can-
to be looked at. We can bring it back to that MMP board. Do that. We've already agreed to where how we're going down this path.
I like, Bill Perkins is very qualified. I think if we were gonna do a variance to include a commissioner from here, we'd have to do the same thing with Benzie.
So,
And so then you're talking about a massive reorganization.
We have a motion on the, I would be concerned about that, but we'll revisit that. We have a motion on the table. All those part of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved, 5-1. Anything else? Gail, thank you. We now have human resources and Jim.
I'm covering both of these.
Do we need a break? It's 10:40.
Sure.
Sure.
And then we can have Jen come in. You got it. Let's take a 5-minute break. Jim, if I say 5. well, then
It's 10
takes-
anyways.
If I say 10, well, then they'll take 15.
That is not true. I've always been the first one back.
No, Perkins is really far.
Anything in there?
That's what I think.
I think it's more important to have somebody Sorry, I forgot to call. I feel like I- we should just- Yes.
Not yet.
Thanks, Lauren, for everything you do.
You're welcome. You're
No,
unmuted.
I agree.
Unmuted.
Good, but I also remember the days when I would just finish out. I was struggling. You know, when they're talking about my house, I remember I bought my house in Traverse City. I had sold my house, I could barely sell the house where I was because the union was going on strike. And no one was done. Came up here and I doubled my house. I thought I was gonna die. You know, and I was making a fair income, you know, as well as getting higher paid. I thought I was gonna die. I looked back at you, and I made it. My first marriage. Her daughter was a city commissioner. She sold it. I'm here. I don't want it. I don't want more than one.
I mean, I get that, but I know.
$100,000. But they were feeding also. They've been using it.
She's the clerk and we started.
Well, Mark will be here. I sure appreciate it. Thank you, Sam. I'm gonna miss you.
I haven't seen you in the gas station.
She was in my office.
Yeah, I know.
Kathy always brings my office. Mike does, thank you, Mike.
I did it last night, only once.
I didn't recognize the writing on it. I thought, yeah. Okay.
Well, it wasn't my writing, I was just a delivery.
You guys do a great job. Thank you. I know I'm a pain, but that's.
Kathy?
Yeah, but we're used to it.
I feel like we lost people.
I don't know if you got a number in here, but we got 10 policy one.
Sure.
I think this is like for every 72 hours, that's one motion. Yeah, that's the new law.
Explain to them.
Give you a second special.
Ready, Jen?
Are you trying to get a meeting going?
We,
I know.
okay, now we have a full house and we're down to Jen and human resource. Human resource.
As all of you know, the state of Michigan passed a law. I don't know if it's the state of Michigan or whether it was however it came into effect. That regarding to the Earned Sick Time Act. And that law was challenged, and in the Supreme Court upheld the law, stated that all groups, not just the public side, but the private side, has to put into effect a earned sick leave policy, which basically gives all employees a sick leave of 1 hour for every 30 hours that are worked. I mean, physically, you're on the job. If you're off on vacation, you don't earn anything. If you're off on sick leave, you don't earn anything. You gotta work, and it covers everybody, including law.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. It does, which
You
I
get a
won't
special
get,
rule.
well, it won't get used, so. But anyway, just the way the law reads. So, and the law allows that employees can earn 1 hour up for every 30 hours work. The law also states that they can only use up to 72 hours of earned sick leave per calendar year. So if you have 100 hours on the books, you only get to use 72 in a given year. That's the law. So basically, we have to enact that particular policy. Right now, we're the only group that we have to enact this on is the non-union employees. It also states that any union contract that's in effect on or before February 21st, 2025, you don't do anything with this law, particularly to that contract, until the next round of negotiations. So we know that the POMA, you will not be dealing with any of that until the county won't until next year when their negotiations up, and the others. It all depends if they get everything completed and ratified by February 21st. If not, then things will have to happen there. So we're going to go ahead and move in, and we're only doing the basic of this law, that we're starting this. We're not making any other changes to the benefits or, earned times of the non-union folks. They stay in effect. So what we're asking is that we go ahead and put this into effect, to approve this, that it goes into effect February the 8th, 2025. That's the latest that we can put this into effect, so that we can then start accumulating it. Now, as I say all this, there is a lame duck session taking place in Lansing, and who knows what's going to come out by the end of this week, because they will be complete with their work. Some of the parameters of this law has been out there held in question. So even if you agree to move this forward for the next week, if there are changes that come out of that, or if something happens before February the 8th, then it will be brought back to you if we can modify that. We're doing this because it's not a question if we want to do it. It's a question that we are required and mandated to do it. It's one of those unfunded mandates that, we didn't do. So this particular motion, and then the other one underneath that is the motion to amend our county policy as it relates to that. And again, all this would go into effect on February the 8th, 2025. I hope I gave that muddy water overall pretty good.
Commissioner Retro?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the new county policy number 8.04 Earned Sick Time Act policy effective February 8th, 2025.
Any questions or discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0.
One other thing I want to mention, I want to thank the staff of the county clerk's office, finance department, HR. All of us were together as a team wrestling through this and what was the best way to move this forward. And we also had this policy has been drafted by our attorney, been approved by our attorneys. It wasn't Matt. Matt gave us the name of the individual in the firm. I can't remember her name right now. That's the expert on this. And she says this is being wrestled by, no, it wasn't Bonnie.
Oh, Mary. I think
Yeah.
it was Mary was her name. Oh, Melissa?
I'll give you the name in the next week, but she did an excellent job helping the guy that through this. So don't take Richard, let's sit back and say whatever. But anyway, it worked out pretty good. So thank you for everyone for your help in getting this through.
Now for county policy update.
And the next one is a follow-up to that. And this is where we would have to update this particular county policy. We have to have this policy to see their earned sick time. It needs to be included in the policy. Again, to go into effect on February the 8th, 2025.
Commissioner Russell?
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners adopt the updated personnel policy number 1.07 to include the Earned Sick Leave Act policy number 8.04 effective February 8th, 2025.
Support.
Any discussion? For that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0.
Now under administration.
And we're down to the NetLink printer copier management.
This is an agreement with our current vendor that takes care of our copiers. Lauren's been working on this, but I don't know where she went. Okay. Oh, well. So if you don't mind, we'll just go ahead and bypass that until she can get back and go back.
Okay, so we'll go down to the non-union wage schedule.
What I'm recommending is that we introduce a particular wage schedule of 3% for all the non-union employees. This is the policy, I'm following the policy that the county board has followed for a number of years, which whatever the other unions or other groups are receiving, your non-union employees receive the same amount. The only one that's on the table right now is the POMA. They are going to be earning a 3% increase in the next year per the contract. You also have had a policy or a guideline that if anything else changes on that, there's of course, your other contracts have the same thing, a me too, that if something changes from the other contracts as we get ready to go into negotiations or further negotiations, that they get retroactivity along with that. The motion covers both of those. And we just think it's the right thing to do for those employees, because we can't tell you when contract negotiations will be complete. Those contracts with the law enforcement units won't be undergoing until after the first of the year again. We may have some more further action as it relates to the Teamsters Union, but I won't know that until later in the week. So this is where we are, but we think it's right not to hold everybody else up, but to move forward.
Commissioner Elder?
I move to recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the 2025 proposed non-union wage schedule presented, reflecting the 3% increase to the 2024 approved non-union wage schedule as amended, and that the schedule be subject to me too upon ratification of the Teamster and FOPLC contracts.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you. Now back to page 134, and Lauren's here.
Lauren, I was going to try to explain this, but I know I would just mess it up so bad that nobody will know what I was talking about. Not that they know what I'm talking about.
So this was before the board last year as well. It's our annual, I believe we own 16 copiers between the two buildings. You'll see last year's estimate and actual, and this year's estimated cost and total cost for printing and copying at the Government Center campus. The only information that's not in the EDS are the account numbers, which I'll get from finance and accounting on which account numbers that come out of. And then that link will produce individual agreements by department, which will be ready for signature probably next week.
I have a motion.
So I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy on bid requirements and approve renewing the service maintenance agreement with Netflix for 2025 at a cost not to exceed $19,529.40.
Support.
We'll get those account numbers as you said. So first person we're going to ask, and I remember a little bit about this from last year and before, to waive the bid policy. Is there reasons we don't want to put these out for bid?
I think this went out for bid. I think it was last year or the year before to re-up with NetLink for a period of so many years. And this is the annual maintenance agreement that gets updated each year. So I think we did go out for bid. Jen, does that ring a bell to you?
It rings a bell for me.
I feel like there was one other company that came in on bid.
Without changing.
So
we will confirm that for you.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I just wanted to cover the base because it's gonna get.
But clerk only had the annual maintenance agreements by department. They didn't have like a contract with a term.
Okay. Well, we'll look into what that bid process was. I just recall it.
Okay.
Okay, I almost hate to ask this question. Do we have laser printers? We don't, do we?
No. Well, that depends on, I think certain offices have like smaller printers that might be laser, but no.
You can't have a big one that's a laser?
I think they are laser. I mean, I don't know the technical,
We'll
I
find
grew
out
up
for you.
in copiers years ago.
well, these are huge cartridges
Yeah.
that are put in these machines and they're
Probably.
heat affixed. There's a heat thing that affixes the ink to the pages, so it's not, like your home printer at all.
I would assume our IT department knows how to make that correct decision, so I'm sure they've got the most efficient machine there, so.
I would, yeah, I would assume.
So we have a motion on the table. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you. Now we're down to the rest of the meeting.
I was mentioning this earlier when I gave you my brief update as it relates to the Leelanau Tower. We originally had a contract with Progressive AV to assist us in the planning decision, professional planner on our staff to go through our special land use permit process and the application. We had a price, well, they had two tasks. The first was to review the global environmental and planning associates evaluation of the county's initial slump submittal. And then once we got the county's request to submit a revision, we used their, we had plenty of money left over to use their services to help us with the revision that would be submitted. We would like to have them in the room, Mr. Ball in the room whenever we're ready to be in front of the county and the Township Planning Commission to help answer questions. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like if we are present in the room, not by TV or by Zoom, that's convenient. It doesn't have the same, I don't want to say effect, but it's good to have a body there to help negotiate and look and go through the process. What I'm concerned about is that we do not, while we have funds remaining of the 5,300, I'd like to assure ourselves that we have funds available to use their services if they're needed. So it's not like we only get billed for what is time used. And so what I'm requesting is that we up their contract by $2,500 to cover us to get through the slug process. You know, and of course, all this comes out of our special project fund. So that's my request to you so that I know that I and staff know that we have professional services available to us to help us through this process. But if we don't need to use it, that's great. But I'd rather know that we have it, you know. And I think this should be more than enough to cover us for the next couple of months.
Mr. Rush?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve an amendment to the Progressive AE agreement for professional services regarding the Leelanau Tower project, amending to not exceed the amount from $5,300 to $7,800 and authorizing the county administrator to execute the amendment with funds to come from the special project fund.
Support. Discussion. Commissioner Leonard?
This one seems quite unique from any other tower we've ever placed.
Yeah.
So Matt, unable to do this on his own, top of our planning department, whatever. I guess I'm a little concerned about, number one, a precedent's being set, but, and we've already done that, I get that, but the township is holding us up, right? This should have been done. So if we're gonna get into 2025, how much longer is this going to go on?
Well, I wish I can tell you how long it's going to be, but there's a 90-day clause in the law that for tower applications, and I haven't gotten down to when that specific date now starts for us, but I'm going to count, and I need to talk to our attorney about it, but we provided the resubmittal on October the 10th. County Planning Department, the County Board of Planners, I would say had 90, this is my opinion, doesn't mean it's the correct opinion, but has 90 days to either approve our SLUP application or disapprove of it. They have to take action.
Right?
They do not take action within the 90 days, it's automatically approved. I just don't know when the start date has been there, and that's what I got it hit me over the weekend. I need to find that out. So we're in that 90-day period. But Matt, there's questions that being asked that, Matt's not a professional planner.
Right. I
Our
understand.
planning department aren't professional planners. This is going through slots. We went through the first one. I thought we did a great job. Even he said we did a great job getting material. Now we're down to that really nitty gritty where you need a professional planner in there to help you through this problem. Mainly, we're also going to be using, fortunately, our other engineering firm that designed the road and did all that stuff. We can use it. We have a standing agreement with him just that we do that. I have an agreement here. I can't spend more than what we have already contracted with. That's why I'm asking that. I don't want it open-ended either. I just wanted a number. So that's where we are. Thank you though for the question.
Any other concerns?
You're welcome.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then we have the Veterans Services Contract.
The other thing is, last month you approved a 3-year agreement with Grand Traverse County Veterans Affairs. After and we mentioned in that EDS that we heard that there may be some concern they would like to have a 6-year agreement, which they said that's fine with us as long as the terms remain the same dollar amount or whatever. What I'm asking here is that you agree to that option, because I don't know what the county's gonna do yet. He's got to go back in front of his Grand Traverse County Veterans Affairs Committee. As I mentioned there also, the director of that Grand Traverse County Affairs has is uncomfortable dealing with our grant policy. And so we will be having a telephone conference call tomorrow with all parties to try to get this worked out, which also includes our attorney. This also happens to be Grand Traverse County's attorney, so we should hopefully get it worked out. But I'm trying to keep all the options open, and that way we don't have to come back in January if they want to do this. And so we are in motion, ready to provide Veterans Affairs services here in Leelanau County come January 1. But if we don't, come January 1, we don't have a contract.
Looking for a motion?
Did I explain that okay?
You did.
I went around Robin Hood's barn to get to that.
I would move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement between Leelanau County and Grand Traverse County Veterans Affairs from January 1, 2025 through December 21, 2030 at an annual cost of $56,618. If said agreement is the desire of Grand Traverse County Veterans Affairs Committee.
Support. Discussion.
Well, just a question, why wouldn't we have a contract on January 1 if they don't do this?
Because we don't have an agreement. Oh, we have an agreement, but they may not want to go into the 3-year agreement. They may not want
We
to.
approved it, but they haven't.
That is
accepted it.
correct.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, they have not taken action.
So we have that one on the table as.
That is
well.
correct.
We'd basically have an approval for a 3-year contract and a 6-year contract by this board waiting for Grand Traverse County.
Yeah, to make up the amount what they want.
Yeah.
Right, so is one going to automatically override the other? Should we rescind the 3-year at that time? And are you going to know something by Tuesday night?
I hope so.
Okay.
Anything else?
We don't want to have consecutive agreements running for 3 years.
Excuse me?
We don't want to have consecutive agreements running with them for the
Well,
first
I understand that. Well, if I have to, I'll revise it that whichever one is chosen, the other one is rescinded.
Right.
I see where you're going. So we can put that in the final motion next week. I see where you're headed.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Next, we just need a motion to move that item on to next Tuesday's agenda so that we can approve the action that we take in our committee as a whole.
So moved.
All those in support of moving this forward, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you. Now down to review of financials, Kathy. Any questions for Kathy?
I have not been all the way through them. Somebody else have, and you want to give us a rundown, Kathy? Anything? Plans, plans.
One thing, let's see. So, most of these are pretty typical. Gulls or Grand Traverse County District Court. Some recycling. What we're doing at this time of year too is I've got Elizabeth looking to make sure that we have our contracts caught up, so we don't get caught with any unpaid contractual arrangements going into 25 that belong in 24. I mean, we can always put them back, but we're looking at those. There's quite a lot of indigent defense, as there always is. You've got
Yeah, I
the
saw
senior
those.
services Christmas event coming up where there's some expenses coming forward for those, which is annual. They winterized our sprinklers. Yeah. And our windows were washed, interior and exterior. I'm not seeing anything jump out at me in this group. It's pretty typical.
Any questions for Kathy?
Because I don't
Yeah,
remember. hearing that.
forestry suppliers, 2 pair of waders.
And which page is that?
Page 3.
Okay. I'm just checking to see what it was charged to.
Yes. you know,
Parks and
but-
Rec, okay, that was charged to Parks and Rec. And I would imagine because you have a new facilities director on board that they bought some waiters for him. And we also have a new, well, Jordan, I don't know if he's been outfitted for waiters. He's a new employee. I could ask who these were outfitted for.
Yeah, I guess the question would be two pair, I guess, because we hire our deck put in and out, don't we? I don't think our
Docks in and out.
docks, not decks, thank you.
Well,
Isn't that contracted? So I don't think or do our parks employees put the docks in and out?
I cannot answer that question.
That may be one question.
But, you know,
What
we
do
do
you-
have ponds out at
Well,
Veronica
Veronica
Valley
Valley
that
is
they make
next.
wet working and to do some stuff, so,
Yeah, Veronica Valley's next most logical.
yeah, so.
As long as it's not for the board.
Right, exactly right.
Commissioner O'Rourke, are you saying you do a lot of waiting around here?
Yes, ma'am, I get Steve.
Do what?
We don't have any time for.
I have a question on the budgetary status report.
Okay,
The Emergency Services Department total month and year to date as opposed to budget.
emergency services, and that's on page 1. Okay, that is where we do a budget amendment for ARPA. So when we light up a cabinet and we pay ARPA money, it runs through this
Through
particular.
Emergency Services.
It does, and it's what I inherited.
Okay, it's just,
So
I
you'll-
understand now what it is, but it's
Yeah, you'll have a budget amendment
math it
next
takes
week.
is, okay. so-
When Chet and I set that up, that's your COVID relief. And so it's a federal award. And
Okay.
so instead of running it through the board, we ran it through emergency services as a federal award. That department is also a federal award.
Okay, all right, thanks. Otherwise, it's an alarming number.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We leaps and bounds,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Kathy, could you share with us what you thought of yesterday's program and your involvement in the one session?
Sure. It was a new commissioner school. There were staff members and other electeds there. I believe there's a clerk in the room and Mike and I represented a finance department. We did break into groups. One was on conflict resolution, one was on finance. There was another one, I didn't attend that one. And we were just hearing from other counties represented about some of their structural changes that they were struggling with. And it was Kalkaska County that brought up some questions, and they just recently went into a new hire of a finance individual. I think, is he a comptroller? Did they decide on a comptroller, which is different than what we're accustomed to? But it was good dialogue. It was good to network and just talk about what you see as board members versus what they see as board members. And so we just talked about that. Maybe I would imagine they might reach out and ask a little bit more about what we do. I think about how we do claims and accounts, how they could maybe streamline their process with post audit. And he's new and very nice young man. I wish him well.
Thank you. Okay. We have special reports now. Any special reports from staff or agencies?
We tentatively approved the airport budget at our finance meeting December 2nd. It goes to the board next Tuesday before this meeting. So, thank you.
Anything else?
Just to remind everybody, there will be a public hearing as it relates to the Parks and Rec master plan next Tuesday evening at 6:30. I think we have it. So just remind me, but we'll send that reminder.
We need to set a date for the end of the year meeting.
So we'll do that next week.
Okay. We then are down to public comment. You have 5 minutes to speak to us about anything that you think we need to hear. Steve.
Good morning, Steve Mikowski, Lake Leelanau. I came across a notice about the airport authority for a $71 million bond sale. Seems an odd and it seems unusual that Grand Traverse County will be asked to pledge the full faith and credit of those bonds. But Leelanau County is left out of the process. So this document seems to be defective because Leelanau County also owns the airport at some percentage. We have one commissioner here who remembers the fiasco of the land transactions of the old county buildings in Leland. The commissioners at that time promised the people a $2 million net gain. Look at the minutes. I attended most of those meetings. As it turned out, it cost the county $2 million to get out of it. So the net loss to taxpayers over that fiasco was $4 million. No small potatoes. And we're doing the same thing with did the same thing with the clerk loading thing. We've almost wasted $1 million. And we want to, again, just express our appointment that there's no apology resolution to be approved at the next meeting regarding the clerk loading motion of May 11, 2021. The apology should be to the clerk and an apology to taxpayers for the waste of money. Commissioners, boards of commissions have a propensity to tend to cover up mistakes. But $4 million was quite a disappointment for the people at the time. And we really have to find a way to do a better job of managing the county business. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Bill's here.
Bill?
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And the title, very correct. We still need one person, one ballot, one vote, 1 day voting. For no fraud, everyone is for no fraud. And everyone should be for one person, one ballot, one vote, 1 day. That's what it was with the mostly Democrats. I think all Democrats from 2016 to 2020 in there. So many spoke out on it and they went silent on it since 2020. And for the good of the whole country, please. And this first article, I hope it's true. It's number one. There's only 2 articles. So actually I had these ready on the 19th of November, but I was late. So I redated it at the top and just used the same printout from then. But this is what, this is the report number 1 at the bottom of page 1. This is what we have all been working for. God, make it so. This is by Trent Leasy. He reported this, I think, on Twitter. Breaking: President Trump's new White House press secretary pick, Carolyn Levitt, says that when Trump is sworn in, he'll implement paper ballots, same-day voting, and voter IDs in all 50 states. Let it be true. Why not? Who would be against it? Please, let's stop this madness that we have. Now, on the page 2 is the number 2, and it goes for the rest of the handout here. It's from AMAC. It's Association of Mature American Citizens. And if you want to good, if you're over 65 or so, I'm not sure when they start, but it's very affordable, and it's, you know, if it's slanted more conservative for fair elections and such. But you can read this article, and it's entitled "Donald Trump Has a Mandate to Implement Nationwide Election Integrity Laws for the Good of All the People." You can read it at AMAC, by the title, "Donald Trump Has a Mandate to Implement Nationwide Election Integrity Laws," posted November 18th, or you can read it when I turn it in at the county here in this meeting's notes. But some of the things on page 3, one of the quotes is, "It is inexcusable that in a democratic society, the people would even harbor the slightest doubt about the integrity of their election laws and the legitimacy of its outcome." Down a little further, it says, "It's striking that every state without voter ID laws voted for Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate in this cycle." And on page 3 shows the map concerning which states don't have the ID laws, and they're the ones that voted for Kamala in this instance. On page 5 says, "If illegal aliens were not included in California's electoral college total, as should be the case, it would receive just 48 electoral votes, not the 54 electoral votes it currently has." It's been an outrage what's happened for the last 4 years at the border. They're for taking down our country. That's what it's for. Page 7 at the top. How many senators, US senators, with this long drawn out voting? Sure, Trump won on the top with overwhelming support if you saw his gatherings and such. But how about Sam Brown in Nevada, Kerry Lake in Arizona, Eric Holt in Wisconsin? And how on earth could it be that every late vote, every that every late vote in every key Senate race always went to Democrat candidates over the Republicans. So, just read through, I mean, I color just about everything because it's all very interesting to see. Just want to close with Tina Peters. She stood up for election integrity. She's now in jail. They just found out that the clerks that she won over, she was working for Dominion during the election. And they're co-clerking now in Mesa County where Tina was. And the other guy who's co-clerking worked for Dominion worked for Dominion, and he's the head of Runback, which prints the ballots. Thank you. Consider this. We need these fair elections.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Well,
Bailey.
Lois Bailey, Village of Suttons Bay. So concerning the materials management plan, the Solid Waste Council agrees with you that we should have more representation, but the plan itself is very rigid about who can serve. And I think we need to follow the plan and just keep going because it's going so slowly. And they're trying to do this in 83 counties in Michigan. The second topic, of course, is the election. I'm the one that came in second by 6 votes, and we did a recount of the paper ballots, and the paper ballot count exactly matched the tabulator count. So we should be done with this concern about our tabulating equipment malfunctioning and coming up with a wrong result. It's a tool. It makes elections faster to count, slows down the manpower that would be required if you wanted to go back to 1 day, 1 ballot paper, it should be enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Any other public comment? Thank you for coming today. We have 2 more meetings yet today, so 4 more opportunities for public comment. Any commissioner comments? I have one, and that's my concern about M72, and I understand right after the holidays, construction starts, and we haven't had any solution or any interest in solving that at the commission level or MDOT level. But the trucks are being asked, I understand, after the holidays to go off of 72 and go down Gray Road and around that way. I don't know. We're going to all continue to express concern about that. I think it's going to be 6 months of
be a mess.
If you have friends on MDOT or friends on Grand Traverse Road Commission, talk to them. We had a plan for the road commission and MDOT, and this board took a resolution on it, but it didn't go anywhere. And I think that's too bad.
It's going to start after the holidays.
I understand.
Well, what's happening is that, as I understand conversation, is that MDOT or the road commission, I can't remember which one, is asking that the M7222, that the utility companies that have utilities inside of that intersection need to get them relocated before the major construction starts in the spring. MDOT or Elmer's will be in there starting their reconstruction when weather permits, but they need to get out of the way. So that's why you're going to see that it changes now.
Which will certainly mean lane closures just for that. Yeah.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're down to approvals.
I move to recommend approval of claims and accounts, $142,623.80.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0.
I would move to approve post audit. Recommend approve post audit, $4,099,340.40.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. We have a committee, the whole meeting. Do we want to start it at 12?
11:45.
No. How long do you need?
I need a few more minutes than 5, yeah. Noon would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will adjourn this meeting.